Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. First off, if this is your first time attending 1 Million Cups, please raise your hand. Awesome. Wow. Lots of newbies. Fantastic. Thank you for coming. So 1 Million Cups was founded by the Kauffman Foundation, and we come together on Wednesday mornings to hear 2 stories from local Kansas City entrepreneurs to share their entrepreneurial journey with us. We'll open it up to our expert panelists to initially ask questions, followed by all of our audience members with the idea to poke holes, ask questions about their business plan, really stretch the limit there. So first, we're going to introduce our expert panelists. We have Tyler Van Winkle and Chris Cheatham, and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Tyler Van Winkle. I'm from a small full-service agency here in Kansas City called Rivet. I also most recently was one of the co-founders of Leap 2, the search engine company in Startup Village.
I'm Chris Cheatham, CEO of ClaimKit. We have the Risk Genius product that helps insurance people review policies faster. So thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming. Okay, and we're going to kick off the morning with our first presenter. We'd like to welcome up Toby with Montano. It's a new sports apparel brand on a mission to change the sports culture. All right, and you're all mic'd up. Perfect.
Is it on? Yeah, all right. Hello, everybody. Not on. Not on. Not on. It says on. Might hit that. We on now? There it is. All right, hello, everybody. So my name's Toby Grewell. I'm the founder and CEO of Montano. So about 4 years ago, I took a trip to Ghana, which is a country in West Africa, to visit an orphanage that had just taken in 8 boys who were entrapped in child slavery. I wanted to bring the boys something nice, and so I brought them a soccer ball. And the first thing we did when I got there was we started playing soccer. It just started out with those 8 boys and myself, but over the first 10 minutes of playing, all of these kids from the community started coming out of the woodworks and joining our game. And then all these adults as well started coming out and watching the game, to where we had about 100 people all on this beach playing soccer, watching soccer. And it was a really cool moment. And on that trip, I realized the power of sports and the power that sports have to bring people together and to build community in a way that little else can. So over the past couple of years, I've started and organized multiple sports leagues in Wichita, where I'm actually from, and then also in Texas. And through those experiences, I've been able to see what actually makes sports awesome, but also recognize some of the problems that are in sports and in sports culture today. There's this common narrative in sports that says win at all costs. We've probably heard that. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem, but the byproduct of that is that the depth of sports is being taken out. Now, both kids and adults are competing to be the best that they can be, rather than connecting with other people. And no longer are sports about community like what I saw in Ghana, but about the scoreboard. So we've created Montano. There it is. We've created Montano as a platform to change sports culture. Montano is a new sports apparel brand that's driving a movement towards treating people with respect and showing what actually makes sports awesome. This is why our tagline is fairly made, fairly played. Now, we're fairly made because we've chosen to partner with a fair trade certified factory. That fair trade certification ensures that the workers who make our sports apparel are being treated fairly. From the wages, they're paid livable wages. It's a much more supportive work environment. And most importantly, there's no child labor or forced labor in the production of our products. We really wanted to be a fair trade brand because a cornerstone of who we are is that we want Montano to positively impact everyone it touches, from the workers who make our clothes to the athletes and teams and customers we support. Not only are we fair trade, though, we're also fairly played. A lot of the bigger sports brands today, their marketing scheme is to highlight the performance of the elite professional athletes. Don't get me wrong, I love a Steph Curry step back 3, but there are phenomenal athletes, and there's also phenomenal people who are everyday athletes. So our mission as Montano is to support the everyday athlete. Everyday athletes are like the guy who plays noon ball at noon basketball at the YMCA over his lunch break, or the mom who plays in the rec volleyball league. Just people who love to play sports, but for them, sports is an activity, not their identity. And we want to be the brand that supports those type of athletes. Another huge piece of showing that fairly played aspect and how we're going to have impact is through our partnerships. We have a couple of partnerships set up with local sports organizations who are using sports to impact the kids in their community. We have the Pickup Game and League 42 are both out of Wichita. And then we have a partnership with an Oakland organization as well that's doing great work. So we hope that as Metano grows, we can grow our impact and support organizations like this who are using sports to positively impact their communities. Okay, so where we're at now, we actually just launched a Kickstarter campaign for our first line of sports apparel last week. So Tuesday, May 31st, we launched. We're currently at 23% funded, which is okay. We have a long road ahead of us. We have 27 days left. Took that screenshot yesterday. 27 days left in our campaign to raise that other 77%. We've connected with a lot of fair trade resources and ethical bloggers and things like that, but we still have a long ways to go to raise that other funding. On Kickstarter, we're offering our first 4 products, which will be our men's shirt, men's shorts, a women's tank, and women's shorts. And the goal for these products was just to create sports apparel that fits well for the everyday athlete and has timeless designs and just well-fitting products. So another piece, that's kind of where we're at with the Kickstarter. Another piece that we've just opened up is our team sports apparel. We've connected with a couple of contacts here in Kansas City, actually, who are doing some awesome work in Haiti. Basically, after the big earthquake in Haiti, a nonprofit called the Global Orphan Project established a factory in Haiti to help build the economy and help mothers who are at risk with their kids becoming orphans. We partnered with them. They just started doing sports apparel, and so we're going to now be able to do completely customizable team sports apparel for every sport, football, basketball, soccer, baseball. We can now do high-quality sports apparel completely customized and perfectly within our mission of being fairly made, fairly played. So this is something we're still developing. It's a big piece of what we're going to do, but this is kind of a new door that's just opened up for us. So that's probably about where we're at with the time. But anyway, we're Metano. We do fair trade sports apparel for the everyday athlete. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to open it up to our expert panel first, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
So good presentation. I really liked the story at the beginning and how you tied it to what you're doing. So one of my first questions is this for-profit or non-profit that you're running? If it is for-profit, pricing margins on selling the apparel?
Right. Yeah, we're for-profit. For our apparel, our profit margins won't be as good as the big brands, but that's partly because we're small and also partly because we're fair trade. But I guess percentage I don't have, but for our profit, we'll be able to do all right, I guess. I don't have the number yet.
No. So how much are you going to charge for a T-shirt?
Gotcha. There it is. Okay. So for a full outfit on Kickstarter right now, men's outfit, we're offering it for $68. And that's the early bird special, actually, we still have available. Women's will be $64 for a full outfit. Then each men's product's $34, women's product's $32. That's where we're at now.
So you open your story with your kind of cause-based mission aspect, where I think a lot of the inspiration for your company came from, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But how does your company aspire to that long-term outside of just being fair trade? Are you socially good? Is there a percentage of profit that goes back to help that cause?
So we haven't set a percentage yet. We're kind of holding off on that until we really grow into who we are and see what works. So we might do something like Tom's, which is very clear-cut, one for one. When you buy a pair of shoes, it gives a pair of shoes. And then fair trade is a little more, I guess it's more of an explanation to give to people. It takes a while to understand how that works. So we're kind of waiting to see how the market responds before we really commit to here's the percentage or the social impact directly we're going to have. So, yeah.
Okay, so kind of one follow-up on what he was saying and kind of the pricing model. How do you know that consumers that are, like to work out are interested in fair trade, right? Have you did you do a bunch of surveys? Is it just a gut feeling? Like, how do you know they're going to actually, because they're paying a premium based on your pricing, I think, for fair trade clothing. So
Yeah.
how do you know they're going to respond?
Yeah. Partly what we're doing with the Kickstarter is to try to get that proof of concept. I personally have done a lot of research, and fair trade as a whole has grown tremendously, especially in the clothing industry over the past couple of years. And no one's really brought it to sports. So we're going to be the first sports apparel brand for mainstream sports that's fair trade certified. But we're still figuring out. So honestly, it's kind of, I just did a trade show this weekend with all fair trade brands in Toronto. And the response that we got was not as much as we had expected. And so we're trying to figure out more so what I thought was our market, which is fair trade consumers, didn't respond as well to sports as I thought they would. So we're honestly kind of in a leeway trying to figure out what that next step is.
So I'm just going to throw out an idea, because when you were presenting,
Right.
I thought of this. So Giordano Ventura last night just
Right.
started a brawl, right? Because he threw at a guy, then threw at the same guy again. And I always look for, when I'm looking at marketing positioning, positions that haven't been, Grant, are you in the room? You're going to be enjoying this. I always look for positions that are totally divergent from everyone else. You could be the brand that is the anti-baseball brawl. You're on social media and this is deplorable. This is why we talk about, fair trade, fair play. And
Right.
tie that to your brand. That could be your position, is sports is out of control. Look at all the fights, look at all the ridiculous stuff that's happening. We're that kind of common sense brand for the everyday person that just wants to engage in this activity. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a pivot. It's kind of moving away from, because I was a little skeptical, frankly, that the fair trade would resonate with the common consumer. Just we don't all buy organic foods. We don't
Right.
all buy organic coffee all the time. Same thing. I don't know if everyone's going to all the time want to be paying a premium, but if you become that brand that's the fair play thing, there might be something there too. So
Right.
just something to think about.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, we've been kind of, as a brand and as our message, we've kind of been tiptoeing around the issues just because we don't want to, we need such a proof of concept before we go into it, but we've been talking about how can we really dive into it a little more with stuff just like that.
So recommendation, don't tiptoe.
Yeah.
Don't tiptoe.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, with my company, I'm the crazy person that calls myself the Dr. Dre of insurance policies. It makes absolutely no sense, right?
Right.
Everyone makes no sense. I know that, but it gets us publicity and stuff like that. So I leave it up. So go hard after those crazy positions and go seize them. Be
Yeah.
that anti-fighting thing. That'd be really interesting, I think.
Yeah. We just had so what sparked our thoughts about this, I love that. We just had a guy do a post about us trying to get some publicity. And he said they're the new ethical Nike, which we've kind of stayed away from because we didn't want to say because everyone loves Nike, we didn't want to tip on people's tiptoes. So we're kind of thinking about changing that a little bit and going after it a little more. So I love that. Thank you.
What do you guys have planned for distribution?
So at first, we have a couple of small retail stores that do all social impact products lined up. They're pretty small though. After our Kickstarter, if it's successful, that'll be a chunk of our first inventory. And then through e-commerce, then we're constantly looking for other retail stores that'll take us in. For bigger retail stores, we hope to get in there, but we have to have much more proof of concept before we get in there.
So I do think that from a clothing perspective, one of the big things is your marketing plan, and how you're going to rise to the top from a pretty saturated market. So outside of just being fair trade and leveraging your tag, what are your other plans from a marketing perspective? Kind of like what Chris was saying, to get way out in front.
Yeah. That's where we're at right now, is figuring that out. So we launched Kickstarter, expected a lot more initial response, to be honest, and haven't got it. Went to Toronto, thousands of fair trade consumers, didn't get the response we wanted. So it's a weird week to present at 1 Million Cups because we're figuring that out. That's the next big thing. So
How big's your
appreciate
team?
the response. Go ahead, what?
How big's your team?
Me, I have a co-founder, Benny, who's our creative director, and then we have an intern as well, just a marketing intern that hops on with us. So,
And how long have you guys been going?
had the idea probably about 1.5 years ago. Launched our brand officially New Year's Day. So about 6 months we've been going.
Have you taken any funding to date?
Nope, it's been bootstrapped up to this point. So
We're going to open up questions to the audience. If you have a question for Toby, please raise your hand.
Go ahead.
Go to Josh first.
Well, hey, Toby, great presentation. Thanks
Thank you,
a lot for
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah.
So I work with a lot of different social ventures, so I'm really excited for what you're doing. And I'd also like to echo what Chris said. Don't tiptoe.
Right.
It's true in any business, but it's especially true for us. I mean, hang your hat on what you stand for and set yourself apart. And that kind of leads me into my question is about the competitive landscape. So number one, are there any other companies out there that are doing what you're doing? And number two, what's to stop, if the market's really there, what's to stop a Nike or an Under Armour from coming out with a fair trade line?
yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing to stop them. So what
Right.
distinguishes you from that, I guess, is really my question.
Right. So in terms of ethically made sportswear, the closest thing is a brand like Patagonia. Many of us have heard. Their target market is more outdoorsy and adventurism. So we're really going to be the first fair trade sports apparel brand for mainstream sports. But the reality is we're still going to be competing with the big brands of Nike and Adidas and things like that because our products are very similar. For them hopping into fair trade, so they could do it. They could do it actually really easily. They could go partner with the fair trade factory, pay a little more. But for them to market the fact that they're doing this little line of fair trade products would also kind of show that this huge 90% of their line is not fair trade and what are the problems with that. So I think there would be a little bit of consumer questioning of their legitimacy. If the market grew enough to where they would actually hop into it, I think that consumers would see through that a little bit. So, but nothing's stopping them. Also, if our brand was big enough to make them hop into it, we'd be doing okay. So,
I got a question over here to your left.
A nice concept. I understand that as a relatively young company, just started your Kickstarter, you have a bunch of self awareness or self view of the company that you yet have to develop. So I really liked some of the other comments that people made. But you really need to, you talked about the fair trade side. You didn't really talk about how your company lives the fair play. In other words, you believe in the fair play, but how do you live it? And so you might want to think about how you make some moves in that area to kind of show that part. And in terms of marketing or finding your customers, you said you were pretty disappointed with the response. One of the things you might think about is which companies out there believe in fair trade or fair play, which nonprofits do, and so forth. Most of them have sports teams. So now that you started your sports apparel thing, you might want to try to focus on that niche just to kind of get a start at least.
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Question on your right.
Hi there, I'm Britton. I really appreciate that you started with your why and that your why is those children in Ghana and your experiences with them. I can really relate to that. My company actually was started because of mission trips in Jamaica, so I really appreciate that. Can you speak a little bit about your name, Matano? What does that mean? The logo, does that symbolize something? Because the name, the logo, and the tagline alone, I did not know that you were a sports apparel company.
Right. Yeah. So that whole logo up there is kind of actually a rabbit trail. So we came up with the name Matano. It means change in Greek, so we like that. And then it also means methane in Italian, and so we say we're fueling a change in sports culture. It's kind of rabbit trail, honestly. So I said methane. My wife is kind of a nerd. She's like, oh, it could be the chemical makeup of methane. I wrote it on a napkin. I was like, how do you know that off the top of your head? But so that's kind of how we came up with it. Fairly Made, Fairly Played. We had actually that was the first idea before really we built out most of the brand. Just like the way that encompasses what I think our sports brand should be. We want to be positively impacting everyone that we touch. And we also want to change sports culture and support the everyday athlete. So definitely think we have more brand awareness to nail down, but that's kind of how we came out of it.
Got a question back here over the wall to your left.
just to get an idea of where your head's at, if you had to get a sports celebrity in your clothing, who would it be? And maybe not like an A-level celebrity, but more like a niche celebrity, perhaps?
Yeah. Let me run through the Kansas City teams real quick in my head. I guess in terms of personality, someone who hustles like crazy is the role player. Dives after the ball when no one else would, type of thing. I don't know if you guys probably don't follow Wichita State a whole lot. I'm from Wichita, so you guys are KU, I guess. Sorry, not a good idea to bring that up. But yeah, I guess in terms of athletes, someone like Enes Kanter, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know that might not have name recognition, but great role player, moves the ball around from another country, proud to be from another country, kind of out there, different from the main guys who are incredible, phenomenal athletes. He made it there by hustling, being a good team player, understanding the game at a deeper level. So, yeah, we don't make it in XXL yet, so no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've been trying to connect with people who know those athletes. It's very hard to get in with athletes like that because everyone's knocking on their door and calling them. So really have to figure out a way. Been also talking with a couple of college athletes that just graduated, so still have some name recognition. So working on that too.
Question in the center.
Hey, Mark Serrano from Mixtape Monkey. You said you have an intern, right?
Yes.
Marketing
yeah.
intern.
Marketing intern is the name. Full disclosure, it's my little brother.
Okay.
He's our marketing intern.
Okay.
But yeah, he's been great.
All right. I went through all your socials.
Yeah.
And just search on Facebook. Not great. You need to put the actual URL. You don't have your Instagram, and do you have a
Matano
Snapchat?
didn't show up when you searched it, is what you're saying? Sorry.
No, you need an Instagram.
Oh,
your
yes.
Instagram's not on there. And do you have a Snapchat?
We do. We just launched a Snapchat. Last week we did a big launch party right before we launched. And we got a Snapchat filter and everything like that. It was really fun. So just got into Snapchat.
Instagram, Snapchat, hit that as hard as you possibly can. That is where the fitness people are at.
Mm-hmm.
You got like not even 300 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Work on that.
Yep.
Go type in fitness, anything, and hit every post you possibly can and just give valuable comments. Just, this looks great. This is amazing. Anything. That's where your market is. That's where you need to hit. I mean, you're missing out on so much. Just Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Over here.
Did you say that you're developing these designs within your company for the clothes, or are you licensing the designs from someone else?
We've developed the designs based off of a lot of other products that we like. So it's kind of a collection of all the different features of different mainstream products that we've kind of put together and worked through. We're on our third phase of sampling right now, so yeah.
Question in the center.
Hi, Toby. Great presentation. Just want to find out more about you.
Okay.
Your bio on your Kickstarter site says you're a baller.
A baller, or I'd say like not a very good baller, but a baller all the same.
But it's pretty short. Just tell us,
Yeah.
why did you decide to get into this line of work, and do you have a day job? Or?
I made the jump to doing this full time just recently, so been doing this. We'll see how that pans out. I guess I've always loved to play sports. I have a lot of brothers, and we grew up playing together. That was a big piece of. I'm not even very good at sports. It's just that it's such a great way to interact with people and to get together with people. So I've always had a deep appreciation for sports. And also, I've just been following for the past couple of years social impact brands and fair trade brands, and seeing this idea of using business to empower people across the country, and how amazing things are coming out of this whole movement of social enterprises. So kind of wanted to be a part of it. There's nothing really in social enterprises in sports, so that's kind of how the idea came about. For me, just two passions intersecting, so yeah.
I got a quick question for you. I know a little bit about rec sports, so how are you tying in with the rec leagues? How are you working with them? What is your plans? Are you giving them shirts? Like, exactly, kind of roll that out for me, because that does seem, like you said, for the everyday baller, right?
Right.
So how are you reaching out to those rec leagues for that?
Yeah, so with the team sports apparel, we just kind of starting to develop. A couple of contacts in Wichita we've talked to about just doing kind of some first initial lines at a discounted rate to get our stuff out there. I play a lot of, like, a couple of different leagues and things like that. So once we launch that piece, we'll probably be marketing like crazy to the rec leagues and things like that, and really connecting social media. So, yeah.
Question on your right.
So I agree with Chris's comment and Josh's comment that you need to, well, in order to differentiate yourself, you need to sort of do it violently. You need to pick a fight, right? That's what great brands do. I mean, I challenge you to find one that doesn't. So how are you supposed to be the anti-fight brand and not pick a fight to differentiate yourself in the market?
That's a great question. Oh, you don't have an answer? I thought you were going to tell me that. I think there's a way to communicate, to kind of take the higher road, but be vocal and kind of vocal and humble about the higher road. Like, hey, the fact that, like, they're throwing punches, what about the hundreds of kids who saw that? What are they supposed to do tomorrow night when they play baseball and a guy throws at them? They're going to charge them out? What does that mean? And so more tapping into culture, because sports are such a powerful force of driving culture. I mean, you go through Twitter during a finals game, it's blown up with everybody but athletes, rappers, and change makers tweeting about the game. And so if we get in on that conversation, are respected in that conversation, I think there's a way to do it. We got to figure out how. So,
Question in the center.
Hi, I'm Vicki S. Cannon with Cannon Social Media Solutions. I have a question for you about how you are getting your message out other than just pictures, because video is so huge right now, especially on social media, and you have a story to tell, and I think that's impactful. So how are you going about doing that?
Yeah, so our biggest video we did was our Kickstarter video. When you pull up our Kickstarter, it's the first thing. It's about a 3-minute video. That was a huge project. So that kind of lays out who we are, what we do, but it's catered towards Kickstarter. Plans for the, say what? Right. We've been talking about doing campaign updates with video, so we'll probably tap into that. In terms of bigger, do what?
You need to tell your story.
Yeah.
Campaign updates. Tell the campaign updates, but tell your story and use your cell phone.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Production, because that's the way people are going to learn more about you and tell things like you're doing.
Yeah. I love it. Thanks.
So our final question for you today is, what can we as a community do to help you?
Thank you. I think we've identified over the course of this what needs to be. Obviously, marketing, a clear-cut marketing strategy on how we're going to get out there. There's a bit of time urgency, obviously, with the Kickstarter launch and not getting the response that we expected. But even beyond the Kickstarter, really nailing down how are we going to be the Toms of sports apparel? How are we going to be that big and be changing sports culture by our identity as a brand? That's been really tough for me and Benny to nail down because it's untapped. You can't Google search how to start a team sports apparel brand. And so appreciate all the feedback from you guys. And if you guys have further ideas or contacts that can help us develop a deeper, impactful marketing plan. Just as the Kickstarter's launched, that's what we've noticed is something we're really lacking in. And you guys noticed as well. So that's a big thing. And obviously, building social media platforms, things like that. If anyone has advice or connections in that, we'd love it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have a couple of quick live announcements for you this morning before we delve into the other list. I'd like to welcome Andrea from Village Square.
Morning, I'm Andrea Essner, and I'm Office and Events Manager at Village Square, which is a co-working studio over in Kansas City Startup Village. And I wanted to let you guys know about 2 events that we have coming up in the next week. So this Friday, we have Second Fridays, and we host this event once a month, every month on the second Friday of the month, and it starts at 4:30, and it's just a really casual hangout, and we'd love to see all of you there. We do a beer swap, so bring your favorite 6-pack, and we'll ice it all down and hang out until everyone is ready to leave. I know Matthew Marcus has plans of setting up an outdoor theater once the sun goes down, fire pit, so feel free to come and hang out for an hour, feel free to come and hang out for the whole night. And that is in the flyer for 1MC today. The other event that is not on the flyer that I want to give you guys a heads up about is next Wednesday. We're hosting a screening of Our Divided City at Village Square. And we really want the startup community to be a part of this screening and the conversation. So Our Divided City is an hour-long documentary that KCPT put out about the Troost Divide and the blight that exists east of Troost. We just want to fuel a conversation moving towards change. We have a really great panel set up with a couple who's featured in the documentary and some community leaders who work really hard east of Troost. So we only have 15 spots left at that event. We have to cap it at 50 because of space restrictions, but if you're interested, I'll be around for a few minutes afterwards, and let me know because we need you to RSVP on Eventbrite. No RSVPs for Friday, just come and hang out. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And then Zach is going to tell us a little bit more about eScholars.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's what, yeah, I don't know, something like that. First off, the summer scholars. Can we get some hands in the air? In the back? Shout out to the summer scholars. So we have, how many has it been? 25 students? 21. Sorry about the extra 4. We have 21 students from UMKC that are doing some entrepreneurial, like a 2-week intensive in entrepreneurship. So welcome, I guess. It's great to have you here. So the second UMKC thing that I'm here to talk about is eScholars. So eScholars has been around, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. Really, Ben should be up here doing this, but here we are. It's kind of the community accelerator, if you will. It's $500 to get in. It's open to community members. And it's how many weeks long, Ben? 9 months? Oh, yeah, actually. Okay, so it's multiple in order, 9 months total. Anyways, long story short, if you have a business, it's one of the best places for you to plug in with some mentors, get some real experience, and grow your business with some real focus on the things that you've been trying to avoid for a long time. So umkc.edu/entrepreneurship. It's $500 and it's worth about $20,000. So take the time to look into it if you've got an early stage business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, we are actually hosting 1 Million Cups next week at UMKC. So if you have any questions about that, please come talk to us afterwards. It is on the top of the sheet in bright red, so please join us next week in room BEH at the Block School 218. So I hope you all can join us. We're taking a little field trip, so it will be fun. We are also not live streaming next week just because of our move over there. So if you are watching on live stream, we hope that you will actually come join us in person next week. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our second presenter, Smart Drive Inc.
Thank you, Courtney. Good morning, everyone. Before I tell you about myself, let me ask 2 questions. 2015, the number of fatalities due to auto accidents increased dramatically. How many of you know? Does anyone know that? Since World War II, this is the first time that the number of fatalities increased more than 10% in 2015. So my second question, how many of you use cell phone while driving? Come on, there's no one here. Come on, that's what I thought. Yes, that is the problem I'm solving. My name is Shashanka. I'm the founder of Smart Drive Inc. And in my previous life, I was a biooptical physicist, and I was working at ASU. I didn't want to become professor, moved out of academy, was doing consulting until one day when my wife got into an accident due to distracted driver. That's when I started. It was a non-fatal accident, but 4-car pileup, and that kind of put the whole thing in my plate. And that's when I realized it's a huge problem with no affordable solution. And here I am. 26% of all accidents in the United States are due to drivers, either driver on the cell phone. And unfortunately, Though everyone agrees that it's a problem and everyone thinks that they are the exception, they will not get into an accident, but that's not the reality. 26% of all accidents are due to distracted driving. This year in the 2015, that number went close to 33%. And that is where we are solving. There are solutions out there. Everyone wants to claim they are solving distracted driving, but in reality, there is no affordable solution. And our solution is one of the first one, which is not only affordable, but also compliant. I'm going to explain a little bit about that. So the solution is a two-part solution, a hardware barely bigger than a quarter, and a software. The hardware sits on the windshield, creates a smart zone surrounding the driver, and the software is in the form of an app on the phone. Administrator installs the app and puts a password and all those good things. And whenever the car is moving, whenever the phone is in the driver's seat, the phone goes into a pre-configured mode. In that pre-configured mode, essentially the phone becomes a dumb phone, if you will. It downgrades itself from smartphone to dumb phone, where you have very limited access, such as obviously 911, and obviously few of the exceptions, probably two numbers, and probably 1 or 2 apps. So the goal is, in this hyper-connected world, you don't want to shut down the phone. The goal is to minimize the distraction. And yet, you still have some functions of the phone which are required on the road. And that is our product. And in our product, when I started the venture, one of the first thing I encountered is, we human beings tend to break the rules every day. If there is a way, we are going to figure it out. And in our case, that way is simply removing the hardware or uninstalling the software. So we incorporated sensors in the hardware. So once it's installed and activated, if somebody removes the hardware from the windshield, the administrator will get the notification. And that is where we are superior. And without raising the price point, we are superior to all our competitors. Nobody could close that gap. We closed it. So if somebody removes the hardware or somebody tries to uninstall the software, the administrator, whoever it might be the parent, it might be your spouse, or it might be the insurance carrier. They will get the notification that somebody messed with the system. So that is the compliance mechanism which we bring to the table. Our business model is, early on when I started this venture, I started this in St. Louis, and I moved around right now in Minneapolis, but we got into Global Insurance Accelerator, where Chris is one of our mentors. So once we came into Global Insurance Accelerator, we realized that there are no technologies for insurance carriers to know what their risk is for distracted driving. So we made a pivot from B2C to B2B. Now our model is, we sell it to the carrier, and the carrier will distribute it to their policy holders. And they'll give some incentives, and in return, there are some stable policy rates, because now the distraction reduced. Obviously, there will be less accidents. And that is our business model. And why do carriers do that? Simply because they are losing money. Last year, in the first 9 months, Geico lost more than $500 million in their underwriting income. Same State Farm. So you name any insurance carrier, they lost significant amount of money last year. And unfortunately, they can't put it, they don't have a pulse on why. So that is the reason why they are interested in as well. So right now within the accelerator, all the companies which we spoke to, all the insurance carriers, they are interested and they want to work with us to taking this solution to the end user. And the company we are, as you may notice, he's my brother. I'm the hardware engineer, he's the software engineer. He has experience in RFID and high frequency trading platforms. Recently, we won a semifinal Accord Insurance Challenge from Des Moines. It's a global competition. And we are looking forward to the finals, which is in Boca Raton. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for presenting. So let's see. First of all, I've seen it before, so
you know pretty much
we both
everything.
are kind of nuanced in the insurance space.
Yes.
But a couple thoughts for you on your presentation. Number one, the most compelling story that I heard was the one about your wife getting in an accident. I think you should lead with that. I always like personal stories as opposed to talking about stats and stuff like that frankly can go over people's heads. So that's one idea. And as an aside, you beat me in the Accord pitch challenge, so maybe just totally ignore what I'm saying. Because, right? number two, you didn't really talk about insurance at all in this, right? And that may have been on purpose, but I think you're missing an opportunity because you're not selling it B2C anymore. You're selling it B2B.
Yes.
So talk about that. What does that look like? I mean, one of my biggest questions I had coming in here is how do you take the data from what you're doing and start integrating that into the insurance systems? But we're not even close to that question because you really didn't talk about how this integrates. So I think you need to dive into that because the benefit of these kind of presentations is to tell that story. If you're not selling it to these consumers, then start telling people who you're selling it to because maybe there's an insurance person in this room that can help you out. So I think you need to make that pivot now. You need your story to go along with your pivot in your business model. And then I was just playing with positioning a little bit too, right? Your like tagline. And one of the things I liked that you said was dumb phones, right? I thought dumb phones is great. So I just wrote down dumb phones, smart driving, smart drive Inc. Something like that where you start getting away from smart driving, developing technologies to reduce cost of insurance by preventing accidents. You need like that 3 to 5 words that's really catchy that drives it home. So that's my feedback.
I think, dumb phone, I need to put that. But just to address the other side of the thing, how it's going to be integrated, one of the things I noticed is not many people are familiar with telematics side of the insurance. So that is the reason why I kind of left it out. But if someone has any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer that.
And I think when I hear about, so we go through the same thing where you're trying to get data to insurance companies from insurance companies, it's almost impossible.
It is.
So like the one thing I would tell you is like, think about how you can be your own platform, right? It sounds totally counterintuitive in the insurance space. And this really goes for any enterprise selling, like where people have really archaic software, like insurance companies. They're going to talk all day about integration, but it never happens. So be your own platform and let them figure it out. So that's just, it would be awesome to have a dashboard where you're showing them all the smart driving data and like, here's how many customers are driving really stupidly. Maybe you should think about doing something about this and pulling this data into your underwriting models.
I'll catch up with you on that. I have some questions as well. Yes.
So great pitch. I enjoyed it. There's a couple holes for me still. I'm not sure where you're at with your product. If it's live, if it's on the market. Like I don't know. I don't really understand how it gets to the car. Like you went from B2C to B2B. So how does it go to the car? Does the insurance company require it? Is it discounted? Is it distributed by the insurance company?
Okay. The first question, we have the MVP and we are deploying a product in September to the insurance carriers for pilots. In the world of insurance carriers, they do pilots, like initial studies. So we are deploying in September 1st. That's on our product side. Now, in terms of how it is going to go into the market, so the way it goes into the market is we sell it to insurance carriers and they'll write the check, we are done. But what they do is, as many of you might know, what Progressive did with Snapshot. So they'll give you discount, some X discount just for using this. Okay, and once they figure it out how much each driver X is exposed to distracted driving, then they'll price that risk score into their premium underwriting premium. But it's a long way. There's a lot of data needs to be done before when the regulators need to clear. But that is the business model or the marketing model in terms of insurance carrier to the end. And how it's installed, it's a simple peel and stick mechanism. It's a double-sided tape. Take it off, snap it on the windshield.
And that's RFID?
No, it's Bluetooth.
It is Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. But multitude of other technologies are coming into space as well. But right now it's Bluetooth.
And how's the windshield device powered?
It's battery powered.
It is
battery powered. Rechargeable battery.
Okay. And what happens when the battery dies? It just sends notification.
Somebody will get notification. Yeah.
So you mentioned your risk analysis that you're doing, right? And I assume that's on a scoring model?
Similar to that, yes.
Oh, sorry. I assume your risk analysis is based on a scoring model, and that's technology that's proprietary to you? So you guys wrote those algorithms?
Yes. The multitude of proprietary areas, yes. Right. But you're on the right path, yes.
Okay. And so is it then a subscription model for the insurance company to continue to access the APIs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's going to a point. You're kind of missing the opportunity to tell, like normally I say don't talk about your product a whole lot, but you didn't talk about it at all. Like that's missing from the story right now.
Okay.
And then it'd be really cool if you not only explain the device, how it worked, that conversation you just had, as soon as you get done here, you should go write that down and figure out how that gets into your presentation.
Okay.
Because those are the questions everyone's thinking. Like,
yes.
I know because I've seen it, but everyone else here is like, what is this? product, how do you deploy it, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big opportunity to show that like you really have two windows of sale, right? Like you're selling to deploy your product into the insurance market, but then your growth opportunity and your scale opportunity actually exists in your services model that's built around your data.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge factor when you're looking at long-term growth in your company.
And I would get a dashboard done by some graphic designer just of what you would do with your data. It doesn't have to be right, but just like something that people can see and imagine, so that an insurance company be like, oh, that'd be cool if I had that data. You know, like just something simple where you're like, here's the device, here's the dashboard, let's go.
Give me 3 weeks. We are right there right now with the dashboard and everything. Within 3 weeks, there should be a video of it.
Great.
And we'll do that.
So is there consumer incentive besides an insurance discount to continue to run this app? Like why, as a parent,
Consumer incentive is simply this. A parent installed in his teenager's car. Now he knows he knows the reference point, which is when you start, probably your risk score might be way, way high. Now he also sees the progress. Okay, my son or daughter is becoming a good driver. They're not using the phone, they're becoming a good driver. So that is the incentive.
But do I have a window into what they're doing or what that data is?
To some extent, yes, depending upon the carrier. So we'll give the way our business model is, we'll give the first opportunity to the carrier and let them decide how much they want to share with the policyholders.
And then my other question is once this application is installed, which you said needed to be installed and set up by an administrator, is that an administrator over the phone? So if the person that's actually using the phone on a daily basis is an administrator, they can also disable it?
Administrator can be a parent, can be a spouse, or can be an insurance carrier. So in case of insurance carrier, essentially the insurance carrier doesn't install, they just send you the link.
So heard one big red flag there.
Yes.
I don't want the insurance carriers touching my phone ever. Like,
that is true.
I don't want them administering what they can shut on and off ever.
I have to rephrase that. I
Yeah.
have to rephrase that. What I was referring to is, when I say administrator, who will get the notification if it is tampered with? That's what I was referring to. But the installation, they'll send you a link, and just open the link and install the hardware and software.
Okay.
I
We're
have
gonna
to
go
rephrase that next time.
Go ahead and open it up to one of our past presenters, Fred Heffer here.
A great presentation. I want to echo what the panelists said. I mean, I think the value of your company lies in the data. If possible, you should give the devices away for free as much as you can, and
Yes.
try to commoditize the data, because that's where the value sits.
Yes, that is one of the in our planning. Where we are at right now is in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we will be opening the hardware to the friends and family and this network, closed network. Then before even we launch into the insurance market, we'll be opening to people like mentors like Chris and all the friends. Pretty much the goal is to, before we launch the product, we should have at least data from 500 plus users. And once we launch the product into the insurance world, that's when we'll get more data, but at least we'll have 500 data from 500 users. That will give us a good opportunity to make a sale or to make as a reference point. Yes, we are working on that right now.
No, that's excellent, because I mean, a lot of the insurance companies in London are being bought out by private equity based on the value of their data, not on the conventional insurance models.
Agreed. You're correct.
Question up here.
For the record, you two should connect afterwards, right there.
My question is around the need of the hardware here. Like, why do you really need a hardware when you want to just put your phone on a car mode? So what is that specific need for the hardware? Cars are becoming more
what
and
you
more.
are referring to is a voluntary versus involuntary, pretty much. How many of us put our phones on voluntarily in a car mode? The answer is probably close to 0.
But more and more of these cars are now becoming smarter, and they come with CarPlay, or they come with Android, Android mode of CarPlays. So,
You're
can
correct.
they communicate with your phone versus having a need of that hardware?
You're correct. The car industry, the auto industry is moving more towards smart cars or driverless cars, if you will. But the reality is there are 200 more million cars which doesn't have that capability. Now, if you take high-end models, they have all this Android, CarPlay, and all those things. Those are great. But how many of them are high-end models? And that is where we come into picture. Yes, there are all those things, all these opportunities exist. In spite of all those opportunities, you still have accidents. You going forward, you still have distraction. So there's always, the industry is going at that side of the wind. I realize that, but there are 200 million cars, which doesn't have that capability. And to replace those 200 million cars to that level, it's a 15-year window. So, and the other point is, why do we need the hardware? Simply because you need to differentiate between driver and passenger. In the hyper-connected world, you don't want to disengage passengers sitting in the car. And there are tons of free apps, for example, AT&T Drive Mode, which does pretty much the same thing, but it does not differentiate between driver and passenger. And that is where we come into picture as a hardware provider, distinguish between driver and passenger.
Question in the middle here.
Just like he doesn't want anybody uploading something to his phone, I don't want to put something on my phone and somebody else get information about it without me getting the same information. So it's not going to be up to the carrier or the insurance company to share it with me. I want to make sure I see it before they do, because I don't want them raising my rates when I haven't used my phone. So you commented that it's up to the carrier to give us the data you receive. We need to make sure we get that data before I put anything on my phone too.
That is true. There are some. That's the reason why I was talking about telematics. We take the example of telematics as a business model, which is what I'm referring to is the snapshot from Progressive. So they put the dongle in your car, they monitor all the data. And it's been there for 12 years. And when you look at the customer adoption rate, the customer adoption rate is around 20%. 20% of the population said they are okay with it. And 1/3 said they don't have enough discount. And another 1/3 said, no way in the hell, quote unquote. So the reality is, yes, quote unquote, yes. We live in a big brother society. We don't want someone to monitor, I get that. But the reality is, as we move in the insurance space towards personalized insurance, that is where the industry is going. And that is where it will go, whether we like it or not. Now, when it comes to user versus the carrier play, the reason why we are giving the carrier whatever they want to choose is, we don't want to come and say, as a third-party company, that everyone should follow this rule, this rule, this rule. So we are giving that to carrier, whatever they want to choose. My impression out of that discussion with the carriers is, they are very open in terms of sharing the data with you. What they are not open is how they are going to score. Those proprietary models, they are not going to share that with you.
But we're giving them the ability to get
Yes.
There's no way they should
Yes.
not.
No. You will accept the terms and conditions. Yes. It's an end user who is going to make the decision. It's not neither we nor the insurance carrier. You have the full right to say, no, I don't want. So, and I don't want to share this data. I want to share only this data. You have the full right. Yes, end user.
Oh, here to your left.
So how? True confessions. I think I'm a safe driver. And,
we all want to think we are safe drivers.
and I really scream, at least silently, at all the other stupid idiots around me that I see on their phones. And yet I do that same behavior occasionally.
Thank you for accepting that.
So I just thought that needed to be said. The question I have is, you need to talk about what is the restriction. For example, can I receive calls if I have a built-in speaker system, whether that's Bluetooth or something else? And those kinds of questions.
That is one of the risk model we were talking about, is that risk model takes multitude of variables into consideration, including how they are using their phone. Are they using Bluetooth or what is the modality, and use that into the risk model. So obviously our solution is a fully configurable solution. Whatever the insurance carrier prefers, whatever their consumers prefer, they can do whatever they want. So it's essentially, end of the day, it's a fully configurable. But again, it depends on multitude of things, because it's a B2B2C. Some demographically, this carrier might has different demographic when compared to other carrier. So we'll let them have some say on it too.
Question in the back here.
They beat me to the automotive question, but as a mechanical engineer in the automotive industry, the Ford Transit is built here in town. I think the maximum is 15 or 18 passenger. I would think that would be a good test market. There are 6 large players, I think, in the Kansas City area that upfit those transits, customize. I would think that would be a good place for you to start with your insurance test. I don't know which direction you're headed, but that may be a good place to look.
Would love to, if you can give me some intro, that
Well,
would be
I don't
great.
know the 6 upfitters, but I'm sure I could find them out. But
I will catch up with you.
Directly over here on your left. Direct.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Couple of quick things I'm curious about. One, how many phones can be integrated with this? I'm assuming especially with parents, there's multiple people driving the car. And 2, does the hardware work? Does it plug into the OBD2?
No.
Okay, so
No.
not a
It's a
conflict with
non-OBD.
what Geico does? And
Yes.
Okay.
It's a non-OBD, so it sits on anywhere in the driver's side, but the obvious position is windshield. And within the family, you can pretty much integrate all the phones within the family. So any cross correlation, like driver X using car Y, it works.
One in the back here.
Clarification on that last question. Does this disable all phones in the car?
No.
So how does
Only-
it know which phones to disable and not disable?
Only the solution is a two-part solution, a hardware and a software. If the phone doesn't have the software app, then obviously it's not going to work. If the phone has a software app, then they both together figure out where the phone is within the car. Is it in the driver's area or in the passenger area? So for example, if a family of 2 or 3 driving around, all of them has app in it. So dad can rotate the phone here and all over the place, right? Whenever it comes into the zone, it will be deactivated.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Your solution is sophisticated enough that zones the car
Yes.
out and just disables the phone in the
Yes.
zone where the driver should be.
That's correct. That's correct. And we are not blocking all the phones because, as you may know, since you asked that question, you may know you can't block all frequencies. It's illegal.
All right, last question over here.
Really great presentation. Thank you for telling us about your business. So I just wanted to get a clear idea. You may have already said this, but I may be missing it. What's the process exactly? So I have Geico insurance, and you sell this software, Smart Drive software, to Geico, and Geico says to me, "I'll offer you better rates if you install this onto your phone and into your car." Could you just run me
That's
through
correct.
exactly
That's
how
correct.
it works?
That's correct.
Okay.
What you said is correct. In the B2B world, that's how it works.
And you download an app or something?
Yes, what you'll get is from your agent, you'll get a hardware, probably delivered to your home, and then a link, email link for the app, and once you enter your stuff, you're done. And the B2C world, which we have to start at some point in the next 6 months to 1 year, where we'll just send it to you directly.
All right, so the last big question, the iconical question, what can we as a community do to help you?
As a startup, we are raising money, increasing the team size, and all those things are great. And you can always tell others not to use cell phone. Obviously, we always do that too. But what I want to convey is, let everyone know that there is a Midwestern solution. Came out of Missouri, running all over the Midwest, but let everyone know that there is a Midwestern solution for this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, first things first here, we had so much fun during announcements, we forgot to do Mug Club. So, who has been to 1 million cups 10 times or more? Hands up, please. All right, this is a good showing today. All right. Who is already, leave the hands up, lazy. Put the hands down if you're already part of Mug Club. Lawrence, you have a mug in your hand, put your hand down. All right, I think we got to go Ben Williams because of the amount of UMKC-ness this morning. Ben, Mug Club, and now you got to stand up and tell us why you come when you actually can make it here.
All right, I come because I like it. Good way to start the day. But I definitely bring students here because it highlights just a really inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem that Kansas City has. And I think it's really inspiring to a lot of students to come here and see how easy it is to sort of plug into this. So please go talk to all of our students as you leave here. So thank you.
Ben Williams, everybody. All right, that is pretty much all we got for today. We have, my phone is standing somewhere that has the names of next week's presenters, Premier Elder Solutions and Game Plan Preppers. Come talk to the presenters for today and have a wonderful day, y'all. Thank you.